All right, here we are again. The sun is just starting to think about rising, and Scheherazade is spinning yet another incredible tale, keeping King Shahryar and all of us completely hooked. We're jumping back in right at the dawn of the 15th night. So try to imagine it. You're the king. The candles are burning low, there's that early morning chill in the air, and you know a life literally hangs on every single word. Let's get right into it. Now, before we get to a new story, we have to deal with the ending of the last one. I mean, the tale of that second dervish, it reached a really intense and tragic conclusion. I mean, seriously, we were left with this absolutely epic magical duel. You had the heroic princess going head-to-head with a demonic Ifrit, and their fight just completely broke the rules of reality. They were shapeshifting into all these savage beasts. It was just a brutal, desperate dance of survival right there on the palace floor. So the Ifrit, for his final move, transforms into a pomegranate, scattering his life force into hundreds of little seeds. And the princess, brilliant, right, becomes a rooster and starts pecking them all up. Or at least she thought she got them all. But in these stories, there's always one that gets away, isn't there? One single seed rolled out of sight. And that one seed, well, that was all it took. A massive fire just erupted from it and incinerated everything. The Ifrit was gone, sure, but so was the princess. She won. She saved the day, but she paid for it with her life. It was one of those victories that feels a whole lot like a loss, leaving nothing behind but two piles of ash. So as everyone's kind of processing that incredible story, the third dervish steps up, and he says something that just stops everyone in their tracks. He says his story, the story of how he lost his eye. It wasn't fate, it wasn't bad luck. He says he brought it all on himself. His story starts out on the open sea with this place that sailors only whisper about in fear, the Magnet Mountain. And this wasn't just some rock, you know? This thing was a ship killer. If you got too close, it would literally pull the nails right out of your ship's planks, tearing it apart and sending you straight to the bottom. So as his whole fleet is getting dragged towards this mountain, the ship's captain just cries out, explaining the curse that doomed them all. Their situation was completely hopeless. The only way to survive was to somehow knock a giant brass horseman off the top of a mountain that no one could possibly climb. And get this, the dervish, he was actually a king at the time. So he's forced to just watch as his entire fleet of 10 ships gets dismantled piece by piece. But by some crazy miracle, he survives, clinging to a piece of driftwood and washing up on the shore of the very mountain that destroyed everything he had. He manages to climb this treacherous mountain, and at the very top, he finds this strange copper dome. He's exhausted, he's alone, he falls asleep. And in his sleep, a voice comes to him, offering him one very strange, very specific way out. The instructions were so bizarre, but also crystal clear. He had to dig right where he was sleeping to find a copper bow and 3 lead arrows. Then he had to shoot that brass horseman, break the curse, and free the seas from this terror once and for all. So he follows the instructions from the dream, and it works. He breaks the curse. But as you can probably guess, escaping the mountain is just the start of an even weirder journey, one that's governed by a single, crucial rule. Okay, let's just quickly run through this. He shoots the horseman, watches it fall into the ocean, he buries the bow, just like the dream said, and right on cue, a boat appears, rowed by a man made entirely of copper. So he gets in and begins his journey home. But here is the one absolutely critical rule the dream voice gave him for his 10-day boat ride. He could not, under any circumstance, say the name of God. I mean, what a strange, unsettling condition for your rescue, right? For 10 full days, he keeps his mouth shut. He just sits there, silent, while this copper man rows. But on that 10th day, he finally sees land, safety, and he's just so overwhelmed with joy and relief that in that one moment, he totally forgets the warning and shouts out a prayer of thanks to God. And the reaction was instant. No warning, no second chance. The copper man just turned, picked him up, and threw him straight into the ocean before rowing away, leaving him for dead. But the story doesn't end there. Nope. He's a strong swimmer, and he manages to fight the waves and wash up on yet another island. And what he finds here is an even bigger mystery than the Magnet Mountain. So he hides himself up in a tree and watches this incredibly strange, silent ritual play out. A ship shows up, slaves get off, and they start digging in the middle of the island until they uncover a hidden door. They lead an old man and a handsome young boy down into the earth, seal it all back up, and just sail away. And this, right here, this is the moment he was talking about, the moment he ruined everything himself. He just couldn't stand the mystery. His curiosity was too much. As soon as the ship was gone, he went to the spot, dug up that door, and went down into the darkness. He just had to know the truth behind what he saw. But as we're about to find out, the price for uncovering that truth was, well, it was incredibly high. Down below, it wasn't some tomb. It was a paradise. He found 39 of the most beautiful gardens he'd ever seen. But of course, there was a 40th door, and behind that door was a magnificent horse, all saddled and ready to ride. In a place full of wonders, that one temptation was the one he couldn't walk away from. So he gets on the horse, and it immediately just bursts into the sky, flying him out of that underground world. It drops him on a rooftop far away, and just before it disappears, it whips its tail and strikes him right in the face, destroying his eye. And that's it. That's the story of how a king became a one-eyed wanderer. Okay, wow, what a story. With all three dervishes having told their tales, the focus of the entire room shifts back to their mysterious hosts, the three ladies, their beaten dogs, and the men who crashed their party. And this is where we get the biggest twist of the night. The guy they all thought was just a porter, a simple merchant, he stands up and reveals who he really is. None other than the Caliph of Baghdad himself, Harun al-Rashid. He then demands that the ladies explain their own secrets, and just like that, everything changes. But faced with the most powerful man in the world, the eldest lady doesn't back down. Instead, she makes this incredible promise. She says, essentially, my story is so amazing, so full of important lessons, that it should be tattooed on the corner of an eye for everyone to read. Talk about a buildup. And just as the sun finally comes up, that's where Scheherazade stops. The question is just left hanging there. After a war between shapeshifters, a cursed mountain, an underground paradise, what story could possibly be more amazing than all of that? And just like the king, we're going to have to wait until the next night to find out.